without no further ado, this is Chris Durham and his company, Military LLC.
Well, good morning, 1 million Cubs. Good morning. How many of you have seen some person that looks like this on the side of the road with a sign? They might have a homeless veteran sign and some sort of camouflage. I gotta pose a question to you. How many homeless veterans do you think are in the U.S. every day? So just think to yourself how many that might be. So there's actually 40,000 homeless veterans in the United States every day. 13,000 will be actually on the streets. And I actually ought to know because I have been a homeless veteran. I am an Army veteran of 24 years. After a tumultuous divorce, I lost my home. Anybody seen the movie The Jerk? I know that's a and he's like walking down the street in the bathroom, like, that'll never happen to anybody. So yeah, I was told I had to leave my house. I was in my bathroom. I'm like outside my house in my bathroom. So it actually did happen. So what I found though was I couldn't find the services that I needed, but I managed to pull myself out of homelessness. But let me tell you something, before that, I couldn't believe I was in that situation. I was 24 years Army veteran, infantry platoon leader, aviator, pilot, space operations officer, even recommended to be an astronaut. Here's Alan being one of the moonwalkers. Said hold fast to your dreams, and I was very honored to at least get to that point. But given those skills, some family support, I decided, hey, I'm going to pull myself out of this, and I'm going to help other veterans. And I decided to form Military LLC. I decided to ditch the camouflage and save it for a camping trip, and decided that I was going to go from homeless vet to exec. I had saved up enough money to go to MIT Sloan, and I know Amanda is also a fellow Sloanie. Very nice to meet her, and I look forward to meeting all of you. Very honored. I was actually selected to be in the advanced management program. It's executive education. They took 2 people from the United States and then some other people as well. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit. But first of all, I want to say that sometimes when I go to events that people say, hey, we can't solve homelessness. We can't solve veteran homelessness. Okay, and I put this up here to show you that it's true. And actually, I'm told in Austin that there is effective zero veteran homelessness. In other words, there's enough housing for veterans. Some might choose to be homeless. We'll help them. The Veterans Administration will help them. But sometimes we have pets or whatnot, and the shelters are not able to take it in. So we've got, in the state of Texas, we have effective zero veteran homelessness in Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. And actually 3 entire states have zero veteran homelessness. Virginia, Connecticut, and Delaware. And my classmates from MIT Sloan from India said to me that the entire country of India has zero veteran homelessness. They have some challenges perhaps with veteran administration getting people, enough staff through, but they have zero veteran homelessness. So I decided I am going to end veteran homelessness on a global scale, provide a research center, and founded Military LLC. I couldn't believe the name wasn't taken, right? So I took it. And I'm going to break this down into indirect services, right, the internet, and direct services, brick and mortar. And we're going to have a hybrid model, just like what's the trend today. As you might know, with Amazon, you think that's purely an online business, but then they acquire Whole Foods. So we're going to that hybrid model. Let's talk about indirect services first. What I learned at MIT Sloan were 3 major areas. I'm going to break those down: blockchain technology, big data analytics, and also platform strategy. Okay, and so if I say blockchain, confused about blockchain? Okay. No, everybody. Okay. So it's just, you think of a block of data, right? It's a chain of blocks of data. That's it. Okay. It sounds real fancy. Blockchain. And it's a permanent ledger. If it's a public blockchain, everybody can see it. And it's not a new concept. In ancient times, there was a stone in the middle of the town square, and they actually recorded different transactions, crops that were traded and whatnot. It was a permanent ledger. So we've come full circle. With big data analytics, what we're going to do with blockchain is we're going to take the information from veteran service organizations. So while we have 40,000 homeless veterans, we have 45,000 veteran service organizations. Some of them do what they say they do, and some of them don't. What I'd like to do is give them tools to be effective. So we're going to use in-house big data analytics to effectively get veterans from point A to point B, but also have a semi-private blockchain where some of that's available to researchers. With a platform strategy, I'm not going to go too much into it, but it's basically like a Facebook where in order to scale this and truly end veteran homelessness, instead of me providing information, I'm going to get the information from everybody else. So if you think a company like Facebook, they don't actually generate content. We do, okay, if we're on Facebook. Now, direct services is down the road, right? There's a phrase in entrepreneurship, don't try to boil the ocean, okay? I understand that. What I want to do is a one-stop shop, Veteran Super Center, okay? We're going to have medical, dental, counseling, homeless, tiny home village on site, veteran service organizations, and even a maker space, okay? Now, if you think about indirect services, right, it's also a one-stop shop. So it's that hybrid model. We have a one-stop shop where we can get information on the blockchain and a one-stop on the Veteran Super Center. Okay, and I want to say I want to get moving on the blockchain right away. Obviously, it's a hot topic, and also on the super centers, because if you've heard lately, the warehouse spaces are getting scooped up because the hybrid model is really coming to fruition. Briefly, I'm going to form a nonprofit. Military Incorporated. It wasn't taken either, so I took it. And we're going to support Military LLC. I want to thank you very much. This is a huge crowd and participation, so I want to thank you for that. Please feel free to visit the website, militaryllc.org, and a pop-up will actually come up so you can automatically click on the social media links. Okay? And lastly, you can go to my About Me page as well, and I can put it back up in a minute. And again, I want to thank you and want to reach out to everybody here to help support Military LLC in ending veteran homelessness on a global scale. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, it's kind of to kick off the Q&A, I kind of want to throw it back to you to start. What currently are your biggest pain points or issues while you're trying to roll out these indirect services?
Okay. So right now, I love programming. I love it. Back in '94, internet came out. I was programming websites. It was no big deal. And I'm doing the blockchain myself, but I want to look for computer science students, interns to help me out. Try to get it elegant and modular, right? So we can build that up. I want to link with the tech community here in Austin. I hear it's robust. So if you guys have connections, please refer them to me. I've got tons of business cards. And maybe some early startup tips as well. So being in the military, I'm used to managing young people, so interns are college age, but any tips to try to get that jump off point.
Awesome. Great. You have a first question. Go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Gerald Gould. I'm with the Texas Veterans Commission.
Hey.
August 30th. I'm assuming you're probably familiar with, I was up in the Dallas community for quite some time before coming here. And there's a facility there called The Bridge. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with one in Arlington. There's one called that.
In Dallas, there's one called The Bridge. I was just wondering how similar your concept is to what they do there, but it seemed very close, or kind of to mirror the direct services that you were talking about.
Right. Now, is the Bridge in Dallas an umbrella organization, or is it more like what the Texas Veteran Commission does?
No, it's an umbrella. Well, it's an umbrella organization. It's basically their goal is to end homelessness. That's what they do.
Right. A lot of people say that we have. So I'll go back to this. We have, for example, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but we have a particular organization in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that's been around for 2 decades, and they still, every time I see them, say, we're coming up with a strategy to end it. I'm like, you've been doing this for 20 years. So what I want to do is, with a blockchain, provide the one-stop shop and the transparency, because what I do my leader checks. I go to the homeless shelters, right? And then I go to the Bridge meetings. They put out all this information, they sit around, pass around, then I go to the different shelters. One shelter knows about a few, another shelter knows about other stuff, right? So the information's not getting to them. So that's one of the goals, is to get that information to them.
Yeah, already there.
What's your business model? Where are you getting the money that's going to fund all of this, and will you be able to share income and revenues with the nonprofits you're partnering with?
That's a great question. I'm not looking right now at sharing the income with other nonprofits. That's certainly a possibility to give them.
With you?
What's that?
Will they share with you?
It's possible, but if we get, for example, a grant, or if we get a contract with the government, there's only so much % we can subcontract out. So that is possible. So if I can't do something, then I can do absolutely do that. The revenue stream right now, I'm looking at the blockchain with what I'm going to call micro licensing. Okay? So right now there are some data available. There is some data available on homeless people, but you got to pay a service about $1,000 a year or something like that. So what I want to do is a micro licensing where people can take slices of the data and get them. With the direct services like the makerspace, there's different employment grants and contracts that I can get for that. The same with the tiny home village, and the veteran service organizations. We'll have to work it out as far as the space goes.
Go ahead.
Dr. Borrego from South University IT. What is your infrastructure to support what you're trying to do? Are you building from the ground up, or do you have an IT team that is helping you out?
So building from the ground up, everything planning to do in-house. I've got, right now it's myself doing actual programming, and then I have some business advisory that's helping me out.
One thing I'd like to kind of pitch back to the community, I thought it was really interesting, and I think it's really awesome that you're doing a lot of the work yourself, but interns sound like a great way to get some of the work done. Has anyone here had experience hiring local interns, and could provide any advice on how to do that? Go again.
I work for other universities where students do school projects, senior project capstone. That's basically slave labor for marriage, churches and so on. We want to consider that.
Okay.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, all the professors, for example, at UT and all the other institutions are a great place to start. They're the bridge between these unbelievable, smart, ridiculously ambitious young people that work so hard. But I just encourage you to make sure that you pay your interns, because I'm philosophically opposed to free internship. It's very important.
There's a wonderful book I came across. It's called Slicing Pie. You maybe heard of that one. The author actually teaches a class at MIT, and he has some really interesting ideas about how to pay interns, like in the future, and profits and stuff. So
Slicing Pie?
Slicing Pie is the name of the book. It's really awesome. Got a lot of cool ideas about how to do that.
I see another hand.
What's your timeline for everything? What's your goals, and what do you have set for each of these steps and such?
So, still producing the timeline, and my business advisors are doing that, helping me, not doing it, but they're helping me out and get a Gantt chart together and all that kind of good stuff. I was very lucky. There's a veteran support organization called American Corporate Partners, and I asked for a mentor, and I said, hey, I want a good one. I waited, and I got somebody that was a VP of senior VP at UBS and a Wharton grad, and he's working with me on the timeline. Right now, I don't have one. I would say typically with a good blockchain, it takes about 2 years. So I'm like on a 2-year trajectory, but the sub-components, I'm still working those out.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not understanding quite how the indirect services relate to the direct services. So all of this information that you're gathering, how is it used to help the veterans?
So when I went homeless, I called the local Veterans Administration, and then they have like a volunteer help desk, and they didn't tell me anything. They said, well, there's nothing. It was a one-time $500 grant. So it's about, like I said, with getting the information to the veteran. It's not getting there now. Also, there's a little bit of accountability with a blockchain because there's transparency. So right now, I come across so many nonprofits, like they have 3 people. The CEO has 3 people they supervise, and they're making $200,000. Okay, if you go to like a major fast food, like a Sonic or something like that, their president makes about $200,000, $250,000. Okay, so you think about something like that. The nonprofits don't have accountability to investors or stockholders, anything like that. And so this will provide something like that, something like a charity navigator will be incorporated into it. Does that help?
Let me see if I can help clarify too. So I'll be honest, I work at Dell, but I get very confused about blockchain. So with the data, who is the end user of that? Would it be veterans themselves, or would it be other veteran organizations who need a better way to understand all the stuff out there?
Right. So with the platform, it's a multi-sided market. You've got the veterans on one side, the veteran service organizations on the other side. Okay. There's some great veteran service organizations that might have a specialty program like equine therapy or something like that. And how's a veteran gonna find something like that? It's maybe there's there's a guy that comes to a bridge meeting in Dallas that has this therapy where they can go to a ranch and whatnot. How's a homeless veteran that's sitting in a shelter in Salvation Army in Austin supposed to get something like that? So this is a way that they can do that. And what I'd like to do is partner with the Veterans Administration. So, for example, when they check into the VA or go there, they have access to this information.
I'll leave it at that.
Help me with the revenue component of this. I don't know much about blockchain and having a hard time understanding how you make revenue.
So instead of the standard licensing model for the data and looking at a micro licensing, so just slicing it out, there's different types of blockchain. So you think about like a Google Doc, and it'll say everybody you want it, or people have the code, or you want it private. It's the same thing with blockchain. It's those 3 categories. So I'm looking at the semi-private. Some things will be available to everybody, and some things will be available for a cost. And that's what, instead of a flat licensing fee, I'm going to look at micro licensing where they pay as they go. It's kind of the model.
And your target market is these nonprofits?
It would be, I will never charge the veterans. Potentially the veteran service organizations, could be researchers, universities for some of the core data, and then also the VA. They have $100-something billion budget, and half of that's discretionary. So I'd love to partner with them, and like I said, get integrated with when a veteran checks in.
Thank you.
It could be interesting too from a corporate standpoint. A lot of corporations have Veterans Affairs offices or initiatives. So that could be also a potential customer of being able to get some of that data, especially data that's relevant towards their programs or initiatives.
Right, and they pay for the data now. So
Yeah.
they do that. So I can provide something that's more cost effective to them and something that's targeting them. So that's the value, that's a value proposition in and of itself.
Just want to clarify, did you say there are 45,000 veteran assistant organizations, and right now there are 40,000 homeless veterans.
That is correct.
Now, are all 45,000 of those dedicated to, at least in some form or fashion, ending veteran homelessness in their community, or is it like you mentioned, the equine?
Right.
So it may not necessarily be. Some of those organizations and those services could be for non-homeless veterans as well. Is that am I understanding that correctly, or are those 45 just to end homelessness?
That is good. So there are the specialty, and there's some that might target veterans that never went homeless. Certainly.
Okay.
And I haven't dealt with organizations like that. So Roger Staubach formed an organization to help veterans in Dallas, but it's strictly for like officers and stuff like that. It's like a higher level.
So it is a goal of yours in what you're doing in your organization to help combine those services and lessen overhead, like you mentioned. Is that an ultimate goal in what you're trying to do?
I mean, I couldn't control it, but I would like to see accountability and transparency.
Which may then be the end result.
It may end up being the end result.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
What is the, I guess the main thing as far as your concept that kind of differentiates you within the market?
Okay. So I'm going to say, obviously, the incorporating some of the latest techniques and technology with the blockchain, and also I would say a differentiation. Being a homeless vet, interacting with homeless vets. I even have a homeless vet that I'm working with that was a programmer. He's in a shelter in Fort Worth, so he's one of my advisors. So I would say that model where I've got the background, I've got the technical knowledge from MIT Sloan, and then also I have that perspective and that drive to help my fellow brothers and sisters in life.
Have you considered including advertising in your revenue stream position in regard to the people that would be accessing the blockchain data to position advertising for additional revenue to push through?
It certainly is possible, and I would screen those advertisers though. So there is I'm not going to name it because I guess we're Facebook Live, but there is a particular organization that say they help veterans that I know. I'm not going to deal with them. But yeah, if you look at some of the different veteran organizations now, they do advertise with, I mean, like USAA, I would absolutely love to have them advertise. Or sponsorship even. Lockheed Martin, Boeing.
Are you working with any other data aggregators like 311 or United Ways or other systems that are attack parts of this, have a similar goal?
Right. I'm not working with United Way. They do have a similar goal right now. They do want to aggregate the data. So I view them more as a competitor.
Any other questions? If not, I'm going to ask you guys one. So my other question, because he did point out that it's an early stage startup, and so he's getting things going. For those of you who have started a company, do you have any advice on things that he should consider moving forward, or just ideas of maybe where he should start from this point?
Something keeps coming into my head that's not quite your business model, but maybe you can supplement it and allow you to have some revenue, and it certainly can help. When you mentioned your own story and how you became homeless, the first thing that set off that chain is you returned from the military and you expected to readily find a job and you couldn't. And I think there are a lot of organizations that try to work on this, but it seems that as a member of the business community, if there was just a simple website that was like hire a vet, and you could click there and input the skill set that you needed, and up would pop the people in your area that met that skill set, that would be a really good way to maybe prevent homelessness in some places, or help people who are currently homeless and in a good place to begin working again, to get connected with jobs. And it certainly seems like you're building a platform that could facilitate something like that.
That is a really great idea. So for example, Lockheed Martin has a platform like that just for them. So if I can partner with them and perhaps look at how they do things and have that ubiquitous to all veterans, then that can work. I have my own model. But they have an excellent one. I've gone in there and they actually have the different coursework. Like if I've gone, like I went to the aviation captain's career course, and I plug that in, and then it shows the jobs that they would want me to interview for. Now, Lockheed Martin and Boeing, Northrop Grumman, they're a little different in that they're very specific. You really have to get that right. They line things up more specific. So I'd have to broaden it out a little bit. That's good.
Out of the, is it 45? Do you have the data on how many of those people are seniors?
For veterans? So I don't, right now they're all spread out. Once you get a certain age, they're gonna go into Social Security and stuff like that. So I haven't seen too many older veterans. I mean, typically the ones that I run into are probably late 30s into their 50s.
The reason I ask it from my perspective is I'm Kelly with Sundare Senior Living. I run into people needing assisted living on a regular basis who often qualify for veterans benefits, but under their benefits you have to go to a skilled nursing facility, and there's a lot of different options now for seniors outside of 24-hour nursing care or skilled care. The problem is that the insurances do not recognize that as an option, but to help solve a homeless issue, getting that changed, which would be a major mountain to move, but if the actual benefits included alternative housing, we could significantly change that.
So, from what I've seen personally in Fort Worth, where I live, if there's a veteran that fits that category, the shelter there is able to find something for them. So that hasn't been an issue. I'm sure in other areas it's going to be.
Just as for instance, the Veterans Administration, the local one here is in Temple, and there's a 2-year waiting list
For
services for veterans.
Okay. With that particular service?
Who have veterans benefits, yes, for nursing care, there's a 2-year waiting list because they will contract out to some other long-term care facilities, but you have assisted living facilities, you have private care homes, so those benefits are very limited to where they can go, and that's creating a huge
I'd love to talk to you after. I do know that for if you have a family member that's caring for a veteran at home, there's a umbrella organization led by Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and that has all sorts of different organizations that can help. So that's one resource. But I'd love to talk to you after about some other getting into a hospice or something like that.
There's an aid and attendance program that many folks don't know about as well, and that does help with the resources for assisted living. But most people need the full benefit of their the full access to their benefits. So, but
One of the types of interns I'm looking for are people that can call that information off the web. So that is one type of intern I'm looking for.
Well, I think we have just a few more minutes left, so I think I'll go for the last question or comment here.
Sure, I want to go back to your competition. You said you looked at United Way as a competitor. What's your strategy? I mean, they've got a lot of resources to put toward aggregating this information, not in the open. But what's your strategy to do this?
So, first thing that comes to mind is going to be timeline. A lot of organizations do, they say they're gonna do something. I've heard that they wanna do that for years now. And so I don't see it as necessarily realistic. Maybe they can do it on a smaller scale, but it's kind of like the Lockheed Martin model where you're gonna have a certain slice of information. This one's gonna have, it's gonna be a lot more comprehensive. And specifically for veterans as well. We have a lot of unique needs. And as I go into other countries, there's different cultural perceptions as well. So we're very proud of our veterans, and we have a certain patriotism. It's just a little different. So if I go into Saudi Arabia or something like that, I mean they're tied to the royal family, they're officers and whatnot. It's a different perspective. Again, what differentiates me is the perspective.
I know we have some more questions, but there'll be time afterwards to grab some more coffee and chat and talk with Chris. But I want to thank you so much for being here, for presenting and sharing.
Awesome.